Pericles Funeral Oration. Most of you have spoken before me, have commanded the lawgiver who added this oration to our funeral customs. It seemed to them a worthy thing to such honor should be given to the burial to the dead who have fallen in the field of battle. But I should prefer that, if a man deeds be brave, he should be honored in deed only, and with such an honor in this public funeral which we are now witnessing. This is the reputation of many who have not been imperiled with eloquence, who want eloquence of one, and the virtuous believe not as he spoken will or ill. For it's difficult to say neither too little or too much, and even moderation is apt not to give the impression of thoughtfulness. The friend of the dead, who knows the facts, is likely to think that the words of the speaker will fall short of the knowledge of his wishes. Another who is not well informed, when he hears anything which surpasses his own powers, he will be envious and will suspect exaggeration. Mankind is tolerant of the praises of others as long as each hearer thinks that he can do as well or nearly as well himself. But when the speaker rises above him, jealousy arises and he begins to be incredulous. However, since our ancestors have set the seal for their approval upon the practice, I must obey and do the uppermost of my power shall endeavor to satisfy the wishes and beliefs of all who hear me. I will speak of our ancestors, for it is right, and seemingly now, when we are lamenting the dead, a tribute shall be paid to their memory. There was never a time when they did not inhabit the land, which by their valor they have handed us down from generation to generation, and we have received from them a free state. But if they were worthy the praise, still more were our fathers who added to their inheritance, and after many a struggle transmitted to us their sons a great empire. And we ourselves assemble here today, who are still more of us in the vigor of our lives, have carried the work of improvement further, and have richly endowed our cities with all things that she will need and suffice for herself both in peace and war. Of the military exploits by which our various possessions were acquired, or of the energy which we have now our fathers driven back the tide of war, Hellenic or barbaric, I will not speak, for the tale would be long and is familiar to you. But before I praise the dead, I should like to point out that by the principles of actions we rose, the power and the what institutions and thought and what manner of life our empire became great. For I am convinced that such thoughts are not unsuitable to the occasion, and are not a numerous assembly of citizens and strangers made profitable listen to them. Our form of government does not enter into rivalry with institutions of others. Our government does not simply copy that of our neighbors, but is an example to them. It is true that we are called a democracy, for the administration is in the hands of the many and not of the few. But while there exists equal justice to all alike in their private disputes, the claim of excellence is also recognized, and when a citizen is in any way distinguished, he is preferred to the public service, not as a matter of privilege, but as a reward and merit. Neither is poverty an obstacle, but a man may benefit his country whether in obscurity of his condition. There is no exclusiveness in our public life, and there's our public business, which are not suspicious of another, nor angry with our neighbor if he does not what he likes. But we do not put our sour looks upon them, which, though harmless, are not pleasant. While we are thus unconstrained to our private business, a spirit of reverence pervades in our public acts. We are prevented from doing wrong by respect of the authorities for the law, having a particular regard for those who have ordained the protection of the injured, as well as those unwritten laws which bring upon the transgressor of them in prohibition and general sentiment. And we have not forgotten to provide the weary spirits many relaxations of them from their toil. We have regular games and satisfied throughout the year. Our homes are beautiful and elegant, and the delight which we daily feel in these things helps to banish sorrow. Because of the greatnesses of our city, the fruits of our whole earth flow in upon us, so that we enjoy the goodness of other countries as freely as our own. Then again, our military training is in many respects superior to that of our adversaries. Our city is thrown open to the world through, and we never expel a foreigner and prevent him from seeing and learning anything of which secretly he, if he reveals to an enemy, might profit to him. We rely not upon our own management or trickery, but of our hearts and hands. In the matter of education, whereas they from youth are always undergoing laborious exercises which are to make them brave, we live at ease, and yet it's equally ready to face the perils that they face. And here's a proof. When the Laomedicians came into Athenian territory, not by ourselves, but themselves, but within their whole confederacy following, we go alone into a neighbor's country, and although our opponents are fighting for their homes, we are on their foreign soil, and we have seldom any difficulty in overcoming them. Our enemies have never yet felt our united strength. The care of our navy divides our attention, and our land, which are obliged to send our own citizens elsewhere. I have dwelt upon the greatness of Athens because I want to show you the contending for the high price that those have enjoyed of none of these privileges, and to establish by manifest proof the merit of these men who I'm now commemorating. Their loftiest praise has already been spoken, for in magnifying the city I have magnified them, and men like these whose virtues has made her glorious. And of how few Hellenians can this be said by them? And the deeds, when weighed in the balance, have been found equal to their fame. I believe that a death such as theirs has been a true measure of man's worth. In many be first revelations of his virtues, but in any rate a final seal. For even those who have come short in ways that just pleaded in valor with them that had fought for this country, they have blotted out the evil with good, and they have benefited the state more than their public services, and they have injured them by their private actions. None of these men were elevated by wealth or hesitated to resign to pleasures of life. None of them put off the evil day in hope, naturally to poverty, that a man, though poor, may one day become rich. But, deeming that a punishment of their enemies was sweeter than any of these things, and that they could fall to no nobler cause, they determined at hazard of their life to be honorably avenged, and to leave the rest. They resigned to the hope that their unknown chance of happiness, but in the face of death they resolved to rely upon themselves alone. And when that moment came, they minded to resist and suffer, rather than to flee and save their lives. They ran away from the word dishonor, but on the battlefield their feet stood fast, and in an instant, at the height of their fortune, they passed away from the scene, not of their fear, but of their glory.